There's a quiet kind of strength that doesn't roar. It doesn't come from shouting your resilience into the world or pretending everything's fine when it isn't. It grows in whispers, in the pause between heartbreak and healing, in the moment you choose stillness over chaos, in the tender way you begin to treat your own heart like it deserves patience. Emotional strength is not about how much you can endure. It's about how gracefully you learn to respond when life shifts beneath your feet. And maybe, if you've been wondering whether you're getting stronger, not in the hard, distant sense of strength, but in the soft, grounded kind, these are the quiet signs. 1. You don't rush to fix every uncomfortable feeling anymore. There was a time when you treated pain like a problem to solve, something to patch, suppress, or talk yourself out of. The mind is wired for avoidance. Neuroscience calls it the pain minimization reflex. It's why you scroll when you're lonely, overthink when you're anxious, or laugh when something inside you quietly aches. But lately, something in you has shifted. You've begun to sit with discomfort instead of sprinting from it. You breathe through the storm instead of trying to outthink it. You let sadness visit without labeling it as weakness. That pause, that sacred moment where you feel instead of fleeing, is where emotional strength begins. Because sitting with your emotions means you finally trust yourself to survive them. You start to realize emotions aren't enemies. They're messages. Anxiety whispers about what feels uncertain. Anger signals a boundary crossed. Sadness mourns what was lost. And when you stop judging them, you begin to listen. That's when healing begins. Not when everything feels good, but when you stop running from what doesn't. 2. You're no longer attached to being understood by everyone. There's a soft kind of freedom that comes when you stop trying to make everyone get you. For years, your nervous system might have been trained to equate understanding with safety. Psychologists call this approval conditioning, that subtle wiring that tells you, if they like me, I'm okay. But one of the hallmarks of emotional maturity is realizing that being misunderstood doesn't mean you're wrong. It simply means you've outgrown the need for validation from those who haven't walked your path. You still care, but differently now. You listen to feedback, but you filter it through self-awareness instead of self-doubt. You no longer shrink to fit someone else's version of you. You understand that people interpret from their own lens, shaped by their wounds, fears, and experiences. And so, instead of defending yourself, you find peace in saying, they don't have to understand me for me to be real. That's growth. That's power. It's not arrogance, it's self-trust. It's the gentle confidence that says, I know who I am, even when you don't. And that's one of the purest forms of emotional strength there is. 3. You've stopped mistaking peace for boredom. For a long time, chaos felt like home. The mind, especially one raised around unpredictability, often confuses calm with danger. When you've lived in fight or flight for too long, stability feels suspicious, as if something bad must be waiting around the corner. So, when life becomes quiet, you itch for movement. You crave the highs and lows, because they make you feel alive. But lately, peace has started to feel safe, familiar even. You no longer mistake consistency for emptiness. Your nervous system has begun to unlearn urgency. You've realized that love doesn't have to come wrapped in intensity to be real. That joy can be steady, not just euphoric. That a quiet night with your thoughts isn't loneliness, it's regulation. From a psychological lens, this is your amygdala recalibrating. Learning that calm doesn't mean danger's hiding nearby. It's your body learning to live outside survival mode. You begin to find beauty in ordinary things. The sound of rain, the way morning light touches your room, the taste of your coffee when you're not rushing. That's not boredom. That's your nervous system remembering safety. That's healing disguised as stillness. 4. You've learned that boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to peace. Once you thought being kind meant always being available. You overextended yourself, mistaking self-sacrifice for love. But emotional strength has taught you something tender. Boundaries don't push people away. They protect the energy that allows you to love well. Boundaries, at their core, are acts of clarity. They tell the world, this is where I end and you begin. Psychologists like Brené Brown remind us that compassionate people are often the ones with the strongest boundaries, because they understand that empathy without limits leads to resentment. You've learned to say no, not from anger, but from awareness. You've learned that declining doesn't make you cold. It makes you conscious. You've stopped apologizing for taking space, for needing rest, for protecting your peace. And the people who love you genuinely? They don't make you feel guilty for it. Boundaries are a love language, both to yourself and others. Because when you stop overextending, your yes becomes more sincere, your love more grounded, and your energy more whole. 5. You no longer seek closure, you create it. There's a moment, often quiet, often lonely, when you realize closure isn't something someone else can give you. It's something you grant yourself when you stop waiting for explanations that won't come. Psychologically, closure is about cognitive integration. Your brain's way of making peace with unfinished stories. But the truth is, not all wounds get a final conversation. Sometimes the apology never arrives. Sometimes people leave without warning. Sometimes you outgrow someone who was once your whole world. And yet, emotional strength is the gentle art of saying, even without answers, I can move forward. You begin to rewrite your narratives. They didn't choose me becomes, it wasn't meant for me. I failed becomes, I learned. You stop needing to win every story. You just want to understand what it taught you. And in doing so, your power shifts inward. You realize that closure isn't about the past making sense. It's about choosing peace despite its chaos. That's how strong people heal. Not by erasing what hurt, but by learning to walk with it, lighter each day. 6. You've begun to choose response over reaction. This one often arrives quietly, without fanfare. It's the moment you feel the familiar spark of anger rise in your chest, and instead of snapping, you pause. The moment you get an unexpected text that would have ruined your day months ago. But this time, you breathe. The moment you realize that silence can say more than any argument ever could. That pause, that breath, is your brain rewiring itself. Neuropsychology calls this the shift from amygdala-driven response to prefrontal regulation. It means your emotional brain no longer runs the show. Your wise mind has joined the conversation. You begin to master emotional alchemy, transforming reactivity into reflection, and reflection into clarity. You still feel deeply, maybe even more than before, but now you know that feeling doesn't always require reacting. You start to respond from intention, not impulse. You recognize that your peace is too valuable to trade for temporary validation. You see that control doesn't come from changing others, but from mastering your own energy. And in that calm space, where once there was only panic, you begin to meet the truest version of yourself. Emotional strength isn't something you achieve. It's something you cultivate, like tending a garden that grows at its own pace. There will be days you feel unshakable, and others where your old patterns whisper again. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. Growth is rarely linear. Sometimes healing looks like falling apart in softer ways, with awareness, with grace, with less fear of what it means. Over time, you start to notice small, sacred changes. You cry and no longer feel ashamed of it. You rest without guilt. You stop rehearsing the worst-case scenario before joy even arrives. You stop trying to prove your worth in places that keep asking you to earn it. You start to treat your heart like something precious, not fragile but deserving of care. And when people ask, what changed? You might not have an exact answer, because strength doesn't announce itself. It simply arrives, in the way your voice doesn't shake when you speak your truth, in the way you forgive yourself faster, in the way peace begins to feel natural. That's the beautiful paradox of emotional growth. You don't always see it happening. You just wake up one morning and realize, the things that once broke you no longer control you. A gentle reflection. If you recognize yourself in any of these signs, pause and honor that. Healing is slow, but it's steady. Becoming emotionally stronger doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you feel without being consumed. It means you still open your heart, even when you've been hurt. It means you understand that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's courage dressed in honesty. So be proud of how far you've come, even if no one else sees it yet. Because somewhere deep inside, your old self is smiling, proud of how gently you're learning to hold what once terrified you. And if you're still in the middle of the process, still shaking, still doubting, still finding your footing, that's okay too. The fact that you're reflecting, reading, trying, that is strength. Emotional growth isn't about arriving. It's about remembering, again and again, that you already have everything inside you to begin again. So take a breath. Let it out slowly. You're not behind. You're evolving. Quietly. Tenderly. Beautifully. And one day, you'll look back and realize, the softest parts of you were never your weakness. They were the roots of your strength all along.